Hi everyone. I thought I would do a tutorial on how I put together sewed my journal together. The journal that I'm referring to is the one that I showed in the previous video for the design team project Bible cover. And there's a little journal with it. In that journal I did kind of a modified Coptic stitch, pamphlet stitch, journal, so I thought I'd do a tutorial today. Hopefully it's short. Don't know if it will be or not, but let's get started on it. Okay, so the first thing I did was I created my signatures. Now in bookbinding, a signature is just papers put together, folded in half, and then you punch holes along your spine area to sew it into your book or sew the signatures together, and then it's a series of signatures that create an actual book block. Sometimes a book block can be glued together. It can be glued with paper around it ready to go into a hardback book, those type of things. So it's just little terms that bookbinders use for their groups of paper. And I'm using, this paper is 28-pound copy paper. Most normal weight copy paper is 20-pound. Medium weight is 24-pound. And then this I would consider a heavy weight, is what I would consider it for copy paper. Now, I'm not talking cardstock. This is actual copy paper. So rating paper, that type of stuff. So, and then I'm also using the parchment paper. This is 24-pound parchment. And it's in a cream color. It's got kind of a mottled look to it, I guess you would say. So, and these are all done the same. I printed this out in a brown ink and stamped in a brown ink. And then this one is printed on a gray with gray lines and stamped in a gray ink. This is Memento gray ink. So, for that. Now, what I do with all my books is I make a guide. And what I did is I had one that was I had an extra sheet from this, and so that's the easiest way to make a guide, is if you just make one extra sheet for what you're doing, and then you can make a guide to punch your holes, and then you only have to, I measure out my holes. Some people don't, they just eyeball like a center and then, you know, sew far in from the ends and then split in between. But I measure mine. I always have. It's just something I do. I find it easier than eyeballing it. So, but this allows you to make your holes uniform on each one of your signatures. So when your signatures are put together, they pretty much line up. And you can see there how the signatures kind of line up. So then you'll get a straighter book block, basically. Because when you stitch them together and you tighten down your strings, then they line up for you. The I totally lost what I was going to say. Oh well, maybe it wasn't that important. Okay, so going on, this, what I do is I fold it in half this way. I take a pencil and I rub along the fold. What that does is it gives me my center line. Whoops, stay on camera. Center line, and then I measure my holes and I make a little dot and I punch my hole on the center line so that I have straight, the vertical straight line up and down, so I know where my center is. So that just makes it easier for me. That seems really technical. You don't have to be that technical if you're not that worried about it. I'm not worried about it. That's just the way that I've always done it. That's the way I was taught to do it, so that's the way I do it. So it makes it easier for me. If you have, like on this paper, it's easy to know which one's the top and which one's the bottom, so that you'll always keep your papers turned the same way. Because when you're punching your holes, say this was turned around, and there, now this one is pretty straight, but you can see it's just a little off on the hole placement. But if I turn it around, line it up, keep my top with my bottom, then it stays pretty straight in there. So it's still a little off, but it's not as much as it was if you get the top and bottom. So if you're working on a page that's just plain, I always mark which way is my top and which way is my bottom. So then I always keep this going in, you know, lining the top of it up with the top of the page and the bottom of it with the bottom of the page. I know that sounds funny, but it does get confusing, and you can get confused with that as you're doing it. I sometimes will save too my templates and just put them in a little file, and then if I have one that works with another books that I'm doing, then I can just pull it out and use the stitches that I have. The more stitches that you have on a page, I think it makes the book stronger to where it doesn't move as much. So if I'm going to have a lot of signatures put together, if I'm going to have a number of pages put in my signature, then a lot of times I'll do more holes with less space in between. So I think this is the most I've ever done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 is usually my count depending on the size of my book. I usually try not to make them bigger than this. So okay, that was for a different project though. This one here I have 5 holes punched. I have a center hole and then holes there. Now, what I do is when it's folded, I have made me a little, what I call a cradle. It's just made from cardboard. I made this from a pattern from a video that I found on YouTube. And I'll try to link it in the description so that, you know, if you want to make one, you can. This is just the sticky back canvas that I put the 2 pieces together with. And then it just sits like this. Now, the drawback of this is that you can only make books as big as your cradle. Meaning, you know, top to bottom. If you wanted a bigger cradle, then of course you would make it bigger. You don't have to have it the size. You can make it as any size you want. They also sell cradles, punching cradles on Etsy, and I think there's some on eBay, stuff like that. So, I mean, you can purchase them. Some of them are made out of wood. You get really fancy, really expensive. This was free cardboard, and it was the cost of my sticky back canvas, which I had on hand. So I thought that was a pretty good price. Okay, so once you have your holes marked, I stick it in the cradle, and what the cradle is designed for. Now, I've seen some people use like the phone books, the old phone books, or any large book. You open it to the middle, you sit your page in there, and it gives you this natural bend in your paper, so you're getting all the papers correctly on the same line. And so then what you would do, and I'm sorry, you have to lift this up to see it, is you would line up your hole puncher on the paper where your hole is, and you would punch through. Now it goes through the sticky back canvas, so you sometimes end up with a little, the more you do it, the more the sticky back canvas doesn't affect your punching, but you can get a little bit of sticky on your punching hole puncher. But eventually it wears off, so you don't have to worry about that. But so you would just punch wherever the hole is. You would just, you know, go along and punch and punch and punch and punch and punch. And even if this moves up, it's not going to affect where your holes are because your paper is sitting in your cradle. So this moves, and then you can move it, you know, wherever you need to move it to get it to set. And I push in here and get to set level. So as long as it's setting level, you're fine. And then you just punch. Sorry, I'm going by the camera. Punch. Like that. Okay, so that's your guide. Now what you have is your signature. So now all my signatures have been punched, but the easiest thing about the guide is it fits right inside your signature. Lines right up in there. I get it even. I take my Okay. I take my bull clip and I attach my papers together. And I usually do it at the top just because now you can see I've shortened these papers from when I did my guide. So they should all line up here, and then they should line up here on the ends. Okay, and then you just clip them together and then you stick it down in your cradle, which lines everything up. And then you go to your first hole and you punch all the way through. Now if you have thick pages, I think, let's see, I have 10 pages per signature, which is quite thick. So you may have to give it just a little bit of strength to push it in. But the nice thing about the cradle and in your template is that you're getting your holes all punched on the crease because your papers stay like folded like this. So you're always going into that crease that you've made. So you're always punching through that crease. So it just makes it a little easier for me. Some people lay it down on their desk and then punch at a side at the angle. I seem to always come out the side of the paper when I do that. So I don't hold that one correctly, but if that's easier for you, just however it's easier for you, go for it. I just wanted to show you my process today. So, okay. Now then, I've got all my signatures punched. Once you're done with your template, just set it to the side and you don't have to, that's done for now. Okay, so once you have your signatures, you know you're going to have 3 signatures per book. Sorry, you do need your template. Then you want to take your cover, and I have 3 covers that I'm going to do. I'm going to start with this one here. And this is, I explained this in my last video for the design team project. This is regular cardstock that you put through the printer. This is a digital printout by Ephemera's Vintage Garden. Debbie Ann designed this paper here. I stamped the butterfly, colored it with Prismacolor pencils, and then I stamped this, live in the moment and make it so beautiful that it will be worth remembering. Now, I'm going to continue decorating this cover. I'm going to continue making some stuff to go in here. I think I'm going to frame the verse, put some flowers on it, that type of stuff, and make it decorative. So I'll do another video once I have them all decorated from that. But I wanted to show you how I stitch in the book. So this, I also used a rub-on. And in, like the last video, it didn't come up. You can kind of see it there. It says journal. I can see it, so I guess that's good. And then I inked around the edges with Archival Ink Watering Can. It's the New Colors by Wendy Vecchi. Okay, talking about the template. On your cover, you also want to use your template to punch your holes. Because if you don't, then your holes in your cover are not going to line up with the holes that you've made for your signatures. So it's very important to get those to line up. So how I do it, now the reason why I put it on the front, so I'm putting my top side of my paper to the top side of my book. I'm putting it on the front because I'm going to be punching down through the cover. And anytime, or anybody who knows, when you punch through your cover, you have this little bump of paper that shows. I want that to the inside of my book. And I'll show you that when it punches. I'll show you how that is. So okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm lining up where I want my paper to set in my book. So you can see I have a little bit hanging over on the top edge and the bottom edge and a little bit on the sides like that. Now keep in mind the papers are a little bit shorter that I have on the, not the top and bottom, but on the sides they're a little bit shorter, so that'll be good. And then you just want to make sure it's straight the way you want it, and then you want to clip it off. Put your big old bull clip on there. If you have another one, and see I moved that. This is not the easiest thing in the world to do, especially when you want it perfect like I do. And yes, I should be giving that up. I shouldn't want it perfect, but so far, I've only been able to work on that. I haven't been able to accomplish that, so. Okay, I don't know where my other book clips are right now, so I guess I'm using one for right now. And hopefully it's not moving. It's gonna move on me. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take and I'm gonna punch through my cover, lining up. I have the line here, so I'm gonna make sure I get as close to that as I possibly can in the middle of the hole and punch through. Okay. Once you have it punched, then your covers and your signatures, you can put your template away. So, okay, so now I've got these holes. I'm just going through and I'm just making sure they are punched all the way through and baked. Now, I'm going to have to go through the holes twice, I think it is, or 3 times. I'm not quite sure, but your needle is going to widen them. I try not to make them as big as I possibly can, but I want them kind of big so it's not that difficult when I start putting the needle and the thread through. Okay, so this is what it looks like on the inside. You can see the holes better on the inside. And you can see there's a little, there's that little raise of, that's what I was talking about. I don't want that to be on the outside of my cover. I want this to be smooth without that raising on there. So, okay, now here's where you need to start making your choices. One of the choices that you need to make is where you want, you're going to have strings that you tie off. So do you want those strings to be at the top, the middle, or the bottom? So that's one of the decisions you have to make, and you can start thinking about that now. The string that I use is crochet thread. And I tied this knot too well. Ouch. There we go. I just keep it in the sack that I think I ordered this from Joann's. Either Joann, I think it was Joann's that I ordered it from. But it's just, I use the white thread. It does come in all kinds of colors, and you can order as many colors as you want. And I have to find the end, sorry. There it is. So it's just a white crochet or embroidery thread. Embroidery thread works. I like this because it's on a big roll. So if I need more than, you know, in the skein of the embroidery floss, then this works. I don't remember the thickness of this. They have a couple of different thicknesses. Any thickness is going to work for the sewing in the book. And this is cotton, and I think it's crochet thread. So anyway, how I figure out how much I need is I just take this and I just take my book and I wrap it around my book. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's probably too much, but I want too much than not enough. Because I've seen where some people tie it off, like they don't have enough threads, and so they tie off their thread, knot it off, and then go back and tie in another thread. I've never been able to do that effectively, so I always opt for more thread than what I need with this. So the other thing is too is that I'm doubling it in this book because I'm stitching the signatures together and then I'm stitching them into my book. So when I stitch the signatures together, I want them to be have the double thickness of thread, basically. So with that, so I want it to be doubled. Now, what I'm going to do here, of course, I've already tied it in a knot. Only on camera do I tie this in a knot. It usually unties pretty quickly though. Okay, what I want to do is I want to color this thread. And I want it to be the color of the edge of the book. So I'm going for the watering can, the archival ink. So I just take my inker. My inkers are kind of homemade. I had a whole bunch of Stampin' Up! Wood pieces from when I took all my Stampin' Up! Stamps off the wood pieces and mounted it to foam, cling foam. So what I did was I got some of the Ranger foam, that cut foam. Anyway, it's got the little foam on it, and then it's got the inky foam thing on it. It's what you can make the ink pads out of, and yeah, Velcro. Just glue Velcro on there, and that's my inker. So, and then I just write what the ink is, so I know what it is. But I want to color this the color of my book. So this thread is really nice. You can just go through and ink it up. And sometimes I find it easier to lay it on the ink pad and just get some ink on it. So it soaks up a lot of ink that way, though. So you can do it either way. It doesn't really matter. But this is going to take me a little while, so I'm going to go ahead and do this, ink up my thread, and then I'll do another video. I don't know if it'll be edited together. It may be 2 parts, but it'll be in another video. Okay, bye for now. Okay, I'm back. I've got my string inked with the ink, and as you can see, I run it through a paper towel. The ink comes off, and then I let it set for a little while and let it dry before I start using it. The other thing that I use on my string is this. I think it's called Bead Haven, Thread Haven, excuse me. It's a product that I get for when I'm doing beaded bracelets and whatnot. So this here is what it looks like. Now mine's really dirty because I've been pulling inked thread through it, as you can see. And you just lay your thread on it, hold it down with your thumb like this, and then you just pull through, and you just pull your whole thread in. Now I've done that twice, so I don't need to do anymore. What it does is condition your thread. You can also use beeswax and just pull your thread through beeswax, and that works too. It just helps strengthen your thread, whatnot. And you can see the ink everywhere on here, so it'll dry. Of course, archival ink, it dries, and then once it's dry, it's permanent. I also want to use a thread colored with gathered twigs to start stressing. Now you can use the pad or you can use the re-inker. I didn't have re-inker of either one. This one, I have it, I just don't know where it is, but right now, or haven't gotten it out. So I just take this, because this is a water-based ink, into a little snack baggie and just push the ink down in here and get some ink in on the sack. That's usually enough, just to get some ink in there. I don't know if you, yeah, you can see that. So if you don't think it's going to be enough, I mean, you can put more in it. Just, excuse me, I'm sorry. You can get some ink in here, and you can also get it all over your hands. Yay! So, oh, whoops. Well, that doesn't help. Let's see. Okay. So you have quite a bit of ink in there, and that makes it show up even more. So then I'm going to take my water bottle here and just like that. And of course, if you need more water, you can get more water. Take my thread. Okay. Seal it off and squish it around. Until you don't see any more white. Okay. Now you can save your bag and use it over and over again, and then you don't waste that ink. I would label it just to make sure you don't cross-contaminate your colors, just in case you want just a straight color. Okay. And then blot it out. And hopefully you can untangle it. I'm going to let it set and let it dry, so I'm not getting ink all over me. And then that one will come up next. So we'll just set it off to the side to dry. Okay. Okay, I am back again. Apparently I ran out of space. So hopefully I can record for a little bit longer right now. What I did was I had finished colored my thread, and then I threaded it onto my needle. The needles that I use are tapestry needles. Let me see if I can get close enough. There we go. Oops. And I'll stop moving it. Dritz tapestry needles, and they come in different lengths, different sizes. I use the medium one just because it works better for me, but tapestry needles are dull. They're still sharp if you poke yourself. I mean, there's a little bit of sharpness to them, but it's not like a normal needle that's so sharp that if you poke your paper, you're going to make a hole in your paper. These are dull ends because they're for tapestry, so it doesn't snag the thread in the tapestry. So it works really well for signatures. Okay, so back to the signatures. We have our 3 signatures. We're going to start with our first signature. This is the, okay, here's the signature that you start with. If you have a certain order to your signatures, say you have this, you want this to be your first signature, second signature, third signature in your book. So we're going to start with the first signature. It depends on how you sew your signatures as to how they're going to lay in your book, and I'll explain that as I put on signature number 2. So if you want to sew from your first signature back, then you would start with your first signature. If you want to sew from your last signature and you want to sew forward, then you start with your last signature. Okay, and I'll show you how you know which way that's going to go. Okay, because this is going to be hidden inside my cover, these stitches here are not going to show openly to the back of the book. I don't want to tie off on the inside because the inside is going to show. It's going to show if you're where your knot is. So I want my knot to be to the spine of the book. So what I'm going to do, and it doesn't matter where you start. I usually start at the top. And then work to the bottom, because I decided on my cover that I want my last thread to be at the top. It'll be at the last hole at the top. So in order to make that happen, I have to start at the top of my book. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm sorry. Okay. So we're going to start here. We're going to go through, you're going to go down through 1 and pull your thread all the way through. Okay. What I do at this point is I pull on my thread like this. Make sure my needle is halfway, it's straight on my needle and both the threads are even. Okay, so now I'm here, right? But I'm going to pull back just a little bit. I want a little bit of a tail here because I want to be able to tie off. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up through 2, and this is hole number 2 in my book. And just pull. If you get knots in there, just pull it up. There you go. Okay. Now, you want that to lay flat in your book. Don't pull on it too much that you're going to pull your thread back through, but okay. You want it taut and laying flat in your book. Now, you want to put your signature on. Most people put a signature on like this. Okay, so this is where you're going to start building your block, your book block. If you start building with this on the front, whatever you end with is going to be the first signature in your book. If you want this one that you started with to be the first signature in the book, you've got to sew your next signature to the back of that signature. Okay? Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to line up those holes just like that. You're going to go down through signature number 2 in the corresponding hole. So that would be signature 2, hole 2. Okay? Pull your thread through. Okay. Come back up. Signature 2, hole 3. Go down through signature 1, hole 3. Apparently those holes are not as big as the other one. So I'm having a hard time pulling that through. But that's okay. Line it up and pull. Okay. Signature 1, hole 4. Signature 2, hole 4. Okay. signature 2, hole 5. Okay. And signature 1, hole 5. Okay. And they're kind of moving around. Oh, sorry. You tend to get up to my face when I work. It doesn't work when I'm trying to do a tutorial and show you what I'm doing. Okay. Now, I'm pulling it, make sure it's tight. As you can see, there's spaces in here that doesn't have any thread. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to, from hole, signature 1, hole 5, signature 1, hole 4, go back up through, and we're going to go down, try not to catch your other threads, down through the corresponding hole in signature 2, pull your thread through. Okay, so see how that now connected there? It's going to also do the same over here. So wherever your space is here, you're going to be filling in. Okay, on each one of your signatures. Load up. Go down through the corresponding hole. Okay. Go back up. And see, as I go in there, I'm going up to the next hole. This is just basically a straight stitch at this point in 2 signatures, corresponding signatures. So now if you don't wait long enough for your string, it could make a few little marks on your paper. So make sure you wait long enough for your string to dry if you're concerned about that. If you're not concerned, you don't have to wait. Just go back up through. Okay. So now then, hold on a minute. I think I've got a problem here. Yep. Okay. Okay, so now you have your signatures, right? You have number 1, number 2. They're together. Everything's good. I go back through and I pull on my string to make sure that everything is lining up right. And straight in there. But it's not going to be too loose or too tight. Okay, so there we go. We've got our signatures in there. Now, you're coming out hole number 1 on signature 1, hole number 1, signature number 2, and you're going to tie your knot. Tie these 2 together in a knot. Now you should do 3. Knots. Sometimes 4. Okay. Okay. Now you have a 3rd signature. And pull as tight as you can. Now you can put a little drop. I usually sometimes put a little drop of diamond glaze on there if I don't think it's going to hold, but it'll usually hold. So, okay, so now we're going to go on to signature number 3, and remember this is our 1st signature, our 2nd signature, and our 3rd signature, right? Okay. Now where you're going to start using your Coptic stitch. Now you could put as many signatures on this as you want. So what you're going to do is you're going to go down through your first hole. This attaches your signature, third signature, to your book block. You're going to go up through hole number 2. You're going to take your needle between signature 1 and signature 2. So you have this gap in there. And you're going to go down on one side, up through the other side. This is really hard to show. Okay, so I went down through here on this side of the thread. I'm going to go through the other side of the thread. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I'm taking this thread, lining up my block, or my signature, with my block, pulling it around the thread that's between signature 1 and 2, and then going back down through the hole that I came out of in signature 3. I hope that makes sense. There's other tutorials for Coptic stitch on the web, on YouTube. You can search Coptic stitch. There's a lot of them out there that you can find. Okay, so I came back up through hole 3 in signature 3. I'm looping around the thread between signature 1 and 2 that's corresponding to the hole, pulling it tight, going back down through the hole in signature 3. Okay. Up in hole 4. Down, up, and all I'm doing there is I'm pulling the thread around the stitch, basically. And again, you need to make sure that your thread is dry. I did not wait long enough for this, so make sure your thread is dry if you don't want it to get inky. If you don't mind, though, if you like that grungy look, that's good. I usually do too. I just wanted these a little bit cleaner, but that's okay. Okay, so now we're going to go through the last hole on the book. We're going to loop around here. There you go. Now this one's a little easier to tighten up because the thread isn't in that figure 8 pattern going through the 2 signatures. So okay. Oh, wait. Okay, on the last one, you don't go down through the hole again. I'm sorry. Pull that out. Yeah. Okay. On the last one, you tighten it up, and then you're just going to, let me see. So here's your signature where you came out. You're just going to go down around that thread again instead of going down through the hole, because you want to end on the outside of the book. So this would be where, like, if you wanted to add on another signature, instead of going down back through that hole, you would put your other signature on and go down through the new signature. But because this is the last one that I want, I'm going to get this loop here and I'm going to tie it off. Just pull that in. Okay. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to tie it off again. I'm going to go down through signature 1 and 2 again and tie off again, so that it's not coming apart. Okay, and all I'm doing is putting that around that stitch again, getting it down to a little bit of a loop, and then I'm going to go in, hook it in there, and tighten it down there like that. Okay? Okay, so that's your book block. It's tied off, it's knotted, it's sewn together. See? There, sewn together. Yay! Okay. So now we need to attach our book block to our cover. And how we're going to do that is you're going to take and put your book block, just line it up with the holes, kind of. Basically, we're going to go down. We're going to go into the hole here. This is the last hole. Okay. And then we're going to come up through the hole here on the book. And we're just going to make sure that's tight. Okay. Hang on a minute. Let me start again. Okay, I actually want to start from the top. What the heck? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to weave my thread in. I actually should have started from the bottom of the book block, and then when it ended at the top. And then I would have been able to start at the top of my cover, gone down, and then come back up to end at my top. And I usually get that wrong, so it's not a big deal. You just have to pull your thread through like this, all the way through. Okay. Start your top, go down through your top. Okay. So you're going down through your first hole. Now you're going to go up through your second hole on your cover. Okay. We're going to be working with, doesn't matter which, between the first and the second signature. Okay. So you're going to go in the space between the first and second signature. So here's the middle of your signature. This is your first signature. This is your second signature. First signature, second signature. And this is the space in between your threads. So just make sure your threads are in there and pull them through. Okay? Okay. Now then, you're going to wrap around that thread and go back through the second hole. And pull tight. Go up through hole 3. Into the space between the first and second signature. Down through, down over the thread. Just a little thread there. Over that thread. Back through the hole. Pull tight. Okay. Up through hole 4. On and up through that space. Okay. Wrap it around. And then go down through your number 4 hole again. Okay. I have to look at it sometimes to get it to go in there. That's why I'm taking it off the camera. So, okay, hole number 5. You're going to go up through hole number 5 through that space. You're going to go down over that thread, and then you're going to go switch your signature. So I just turned the signature. This is signature number 2. This is signature number 3. Now you're up through here. You're going to wrap around signature between signature number 2 and number 3 and go back down through the number 5 hole. Okay? So that anchors that in. Okay, so now we're going to go back hole number 4. We're going to go up through the space, signature number 2, signature number 3, and do the same thing again. Down through the hole. Okay, hold tight. Anchor that in there. Go up through hole number 3. Back out, round the thread, back out. Hold tight. Okay, hole number 2. Around the thread, back down through. Hole number 1. Okay. Now, at this point, you're going to go around. You came up through hole number 1. Going to go around through the thread that's there. Actually, you should have, okay, you should have this tail here. So I'm going to okay, I'm going to go around through the thread there. Okay, just pull it tight. Okay. Now take this thread. This is the original thread, the first thread that's on the front, and tie it in a knot. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back out through the hole number 1, and I'm going to end on the outside of the book. Okay. Now at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop through here. And I'm going to tie it in a knot. Just one little knot there. Okay. And then, as you can see, I didn't pull my thread tight enough. I have a little thread there. So now I've got to figure out where that is. And I have to go in and see if I can find it. Just going into 3. Okay. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that all your threads are actually in the book, pulled tight, especially when you're using a double thread. You want to make sure that all the tension is correct on the outside, and I didn't do that because I was going fast and figuring out, you know, the next step in the tutorial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably have to redo this one, but that's okay. Okay, so now I have tied this off. Either that or I'll figure it out later. You can go through, and if you can find your thread, you can tighten it up on the inside and then glue it down, and it won't come out with that. Okay. So now I decide how much fringe I want, how much I want to leave here on this, and I just cut it off. And then I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to tie this on here again. Yeah. Okay. There we go. And again. Okay. And then I just cut my needle off. Okay. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this string that's somewhere in here. I had a string in here. There it is. This string here, the original string. I'm going to feed it onto my needle. Okay, and then I'm going to feed it back through that first hole. Sorry. You can't see the first hole. There we go. I'm just going to pull that through. Onto this side, I'm going to cut the knot out of it. And I'm going to trim these up so that they're roughly the same size. Okay. Stick my needle back in my pack. We won't lose it. And there we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these here and so they don't just hang there. There's multiple threads in this, so I'm just going to fray them out so that it looks like a little bit of a frayed knot there. So and there we go. Okay. Okay, so now this book is together. You've got your 3 signatures in there, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly start molding this book or the cover around the signatures. I'm just hanging on to it and I'm pushing it into the spine. Just push and push and push. Push this around. Just like that. And then you have your journal. Right there. Just like that. Okay. Now I did notice in here you can see how the ink kind of got on the pages a little bit. But it's not too bad. I think it's going to be okay. And I don't know what she's going to do with them anyway. She may put a whole bunch of ink on them. I don't know. So I think it's going to work. So then you have the back cover. You have the front cover, inside cover. And then this is your front cover and your back cover. And what I do once I get them done is I take them and I lay them flat and put some heavy books on them. And that just reinforces that. I don't use a bone folder back here because I don't want this to show. Sometimes with the bone folder it gets shiny. Sometimes it'll rub off your pattern. Like if you have any pencil, any waxy, anything like that, it can rub it off if you rub too hard. And if you just lay a book on there, it just forms and then it's fine. It just takes about 24 hours for that to work. So, okay. So there it is. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to be doing 2 more of these, so I'm going to go ahead and do them. I'm not going to do them on camera, so if you have any questions, please, like I said, let me know so that I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. You can even put like a little button here, you know, attach a string back here for a closure, you know, all kinds of stuff that you can do with these, and they're so fun. You can use digital papers, inks, multimedia, and it just makes that cute little journal. So, okay, well I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you come back and watch my other videos. I'm going to have 2 more videos coming here in July for projects for Femrose Vintage Garden, and I'll link to my other video that shows the other journal as well as the design team project, guest design team project. I also wanted to show this. In the last video I said I used this product, this Judakins Micro Glaze. This is wonderful product. It's the stuff that I rub all over the digital work so it doesn't, I can put ink on it, I can put water on it, I can put whatever I want on it, and it doesn't move my design. And it seals the inkjet printer for wet media. So it's a wonderful product. Judakins Micro Glaze. Sorry, there's a glare there. There we go. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.